Hey guys, it's Callus. Welcome back to part 2 of my Emerald Open series. This is the group stages. They put us in battle pods now, which are completely different from our draft pods. Now, granted, you could, just by dumb luck, very unlikely with how many people are in the event at this stage, but you could end up with someone in your draft pod in your battle pool. That did not happen in this case, but just like I thought we had a rather difficult battle pool or draft pool rather, I think we have a fairly difficult battle pool as well. These are not easy opponents. We ended up with Sosa, who is a pretty well-known player, banned from Smogon, but like good player regardless. Dude can definitely play. Got a threatening team. The Sceptile actually, I think, is rather threatening to us. And then we have Lax, who was the first pick in the Snake year or two ago. This dude can obviously play. SPL stud and has a pretty storied Pokemon career competitively. The only guy that I didn't know, because I definitely know Sosa and Lax, the only guy I didn't know was Sneak. Not as familiar with him, but he arguably has the best team among the three opponents that we have to face. He's also got a Raikou, as we do. He's got a Claydol, which is comparable to our Donphan. He's got a nice aggressive Gyarados. He's got a Medicham, just like we do. So we're actually sharing three pokes with this guy in the Raikou, the Medicham, and the Regis. So it's actually like a pseudo mirror match. And then, like I said, the Donphan and the Doll actually probably function pretty similarly as well. So yeah, when I saw this, I thought it was going to be tough. We do not have an easy battle pool by any means. The match we're going to focus on today is just the one that we played against first in real time, which is going to be against Lax. So let's take a look at his team, ignoring Sosa, Snake, and obviously us for a minute, and looking at what he's got. So this is clearly a very stally team, by far the stalliest team in the pool. Something that stands out immediately is that he's going to have a hard time actually winning if not for milking spikes, because anything that even like kind of sort of could be offensive on his team, like let's say he goes with a very offensive Zapdos, we can wall that completely with Regice or with a very defensive Raikou. Likewise, if he tries to go, offensive Donphan, CB Donphan, my Lotic can handle it. I could put water moves or ice moves. Dragonite can learn Ice Beam. I could put ice stuff everywhere. He's going to have a hard time winning with that as well. He could go with like a Curse Miltank or something, but I really don't think, given our team, which again has access, if you look over here at my squad, I have T-Waves everywhere. I have fighting attacks on multiple things. It's just, I don't think he's going to be able to get it going. I think that this isn't one of the easiest matches, but I think this is one of the most straightforward matches in that the way that he's going to win is he's going to establish spikes and play well with Dusclops and make it so we can't remove the spikes. And the way that we're going to win is by keeping him off spikes as much as possible and staying aggressive. I think this is one of those matches where we have to clearly play the offensive role. I think our team is pretty flexible and can be very offensive or very defensive or anything in between, depending on what the match calls for. But in this particular matchup, it's very clear that we are the offense. So I really wasn't. The first thing I do every time is I look at what are the big threats, what are the most blatant, dangerous things that we need to not get killed by. And like I said, it doesn't look like he actually has a lot of that in this case. Dusclops and Skarm are never going to kill us. Spikes might, but Skarm won't. Donphan is mildly threatening, like I said, but I think I can cover it. Miltank is mildly threatening, but I think I can cover it. Venusaur actually does learn like Swords Dance, so like there's a world where it's like SD, Sludge Bomb, EQ, Sleep Powder or something. Sleep Powder we definitely want to be aware of. That is a move that could be a bit of an issue here. And as a whole, whether it's Toxic Skarm, Toxic or T-Wave Zapdos, Will-O-Wisp Dusclops, Toxic Donphan, T-Wave Miltank, his whole team has a bazillion status moves. So I knew very early on when building for this match that Dragonite on our end had to be Heal Bell here, given all the status that he's going to be relying on. So basically we started to put two and two together with the prep for this one. I knew that Metacham was going to be an absolute threat for him. He does not have a fantastic switch into that. I knew that Raikou was going to be a threat for him. We definitely have some offensive stuff that he has a hard time handling. So the whole game plan really came down to minimizing his opportunities to get spikes up and keep spikes up and playing aggressively and controlling the tempo of the game the whole time. There is one tech that we made that I was particularly proud of for this matchup. So if you look, Lax does in fact have a spinner. He has a Donphan, just like we do. However, we don't have a spiker. So it makes logical sense on his end that his Donphan should not have rapid spin. Now, if we were against some random 1200 ladder guy who I looked at their replays and looked at their scores or whatever, and they're just blatantly bad, it wouldn't shock me if they just copied a random Smogon set, or if they just tunnel visioned and said, Donphan is a rapid spinner, it's going to have rapid spin, and they just showed up with it anyway. But against someone as good and as smart as Lax, I knew for sure that he is not going to show up with rapid spin on Donphan. He knows better. He knows it's a wasted slot. He knows there's no point of having rapid spin against my team. So with that, I decided to get cute. And I actually opted for Mimic on our Donphan. And the dream for this matchup, because this is like a game-winning play if it happens, is we have the Donphan in against the Skarmory. We call out his spikes turn and use Mimic, and then, even if he blows us away, it doesn't matter because we still get a spike off before he does it, and then that's going to be a spike that he can never, ever remove because his Donphan is never going to have spin. So we got cute and we went with Mimic Donphan, and that actually does end up mattering during the game. That, like I said, that's a tech in this matchup that I was particularly proud of. And I guess the next level of mental games is that Lax somehow anticipates that we might do that, and he intentionally, rather than being a derp, keeps rapid spin on Donphan. But like I said, I gave him the credit that there's no way he's showing up with spin Donphan, and indeed that is what happened. So let's look at the team that we came up with for this match. We decided to lead Regice for the very simple reason, if we just look at his team, it had to check the following criteria. It needed to threaten Skarm, first and foremost. It needed to have a play for Zapdos and threaten that first and foremost, because what I didn't want to happen is the Zapdos immediately on turn 1 gets a free substitute on something, or he baton passes for free to something. So it had to have play against both Skarm and Zapdos. And then as a bonus, if I'm against the Venusaur, I could figure out what I want to get slept or what have you. But the key thing here was threatening the Skarm and the Zapdos, because those are the enablers, whether directly or indirectly via whatever, substitute baton pass. Those are the two enablers that are going to get spikes up for him, which is the number one thing that we want to avoid. So that's why we decided to lead with Regice. We went modest, fully offensive here, other than just the obligatory bulk, but we went full special attack here. Like I said, most of the things are going to be EV'd fairly aggressively here because we are the offense in this match without a doubt. That being said, Raikou, while also modest, we only gave him as much speed as he needs, but again, we went with a rest set because his team is very defensive and has a hard time actually killing anything. We opted for Hypno on Milotic here. We knew that this game had the potential to be a grind, and we knew that controlling the tempo and flinging status back and forth was good. And again, I wanted to minimize the possibility. I wanted to minimize the chances for him to free spike, so we went with Hypno Milo to, if we end up in that matchup of Milo versus Skarm, we want to be able to punish it. If he's full special defense, then Surf is not going to be that exciting. We thought Hypno was more backbreaking, and we thought it was just a generically safe move against a passive team like his to just fling out there. And it's the same deal against the Dusclops. Something like Toxic, for example, or Refresh is not going to be very exciting. He could just rest it away and wall us forever. But if we get him with Hypno, maybe we have a chance to actually kill him. Dragonite, same deal. Theme as before. We went full-on special attack here because we are the aggro in this matchup. T-Wave is just going to support the other members of the team. And the heal bell is obligatory in this matchup given the amount of status that he's going to fling around. The aforementioned Donphan, a lot of the stuff we did go fairly sturdy here because, again, he's going to have a hard time with his very passive defensive team. His role in this is the defense, and he knows it. He's the control, and he knows it, and he's going to play accordingly. He's going to have a hard time actually killing anything, so he kept it sturdy, didn't want to make his life easy. Even if we lose a couple coin flips against Dusclops, even if the Clops does get a Will-O-Wisp off on Donphan, whatever, we wanted ways to try again later and keep the Donphan alive, so I thought Rest was an obligatory move in this case. We gave him enough attacks so we can actually threaten the Dusclops a little bit, but by and large, his job in this matchup is just to be the spinner. Him as a defensive wall in this matchup doesn't really matter. It's not that kind of team that we're against. We're not trying to stop a DD Tar or whatever. And the aforementioned cute Mimic Tech, which I'm proud of and which did matter in the actual game. And then finally, we have the Metacham here. Same thing, just giving it as much speed as it needs and no more. We opted for a substitute set. There's going to be a lot of switching in this match against a very passive team like the one that we are against. Rock Slide did not seem necessary here. It would only be for the Zapdos. Nothing else cares. I thought that Focus Punch was more effective, and it's a move that I specifically wanted to have against the Skarmory because priority number one, first and foremost, is to threaten the Skarm and keep him off spikes. Obviously, we're not going to have just Focus Punch and forsake Brick Break, so that's obligatory. So when it comes down to Shadow Ball versus Rock Slide, yeah, Rock Slide would have been nice to have, I guess, but it's really, like I said, it's only the Zapdos, which we threaten enough with other Mons, and even Shadow Ball does a decent chunk, but we have to hit the Dusclops. Had we gone with Rock Slide over Shadow Ball, Metacham would simply be too walled by the Dusclops if we were Brick Break, Focus Punch, Rock Slide, sub. Can't have that. It's got to have Shadow Ball to hit the Dusclops, so that's how we ended up with that. And this is the team that we use. This is one of the most straightforward ones throughout the entire run because it's just a clear-cut matchup. We're the offense. He's the defense. Let's see who executes. So here's the game. As played by Jabba, like I said, because after the auction, or the draft rather, but prior to actually playing, I subbed out and Jabba subbed in my place. So let's go ahead and switch sides for continuity to put our hero, Jabba, on the bottom. Unsurprisingly, Lax is going to lead with Skarm because he knows how important spikes are in this matchup. This is what we anticipated as one of the most likely possibilities, and it's why we led with Regice. This is going to enable a free T-Wave here. If we want to start out that way, we could also just attack it depending on what we think is important. And Jabba opts for the Thunderbolt. So we're going to trade Toxic for Bolt, which is fine. Not only does Regice have Rest, but as you know, we brought Heal Bell with Dragonite as well. Ice Punch there in case he wanted to switch. Spikes and T-Wave. So far, totally fine with how Jabba played this. There's nothing that we can do to prevent him from getting a layer of spikes down, but we can't let him for free get multiple layers down. So there's Rapid Spin and a full para. He maybe was trying to Toxic us there. Again, Donphan has Rest. And we also have the Heal Bell on Knight. We knew that he was going to re-spike there, which is why we went to Dragonite. And this T-Wave is pretty good. We also got a Bell off. Toxic there may or may not have prompted another Bell, but it did get rid of the Toxic on our Regice. Full para on his Dusclops. You can see how hard Modest Regice hits here. It's both an offensive and defensive threat. And then between the full power and the Toxic, he has a decent chance to not land there. And then he gets unlucky with a full power on the following turn. So his Dusclops didn't do a lot. The reason that this Ice Beam didn't do more is because Miltank has thick fat. Heal Bell there is going to get rid of his status problems, but I still think we're in a reasonable position here. He's got to be careful if he goes to Dusclops to block Rapid Spin here, because we could just Earthquake it. And indeed, Jabba anticipates that switch and goes for EQ. He complains about the crit. I don't know that it matters. I'd have to pull up the calcs, but I think with our attack EVs
and with the stab and the high base attack, I think that EQ would have killed him pretty damn often without the crit, but someone can calc it for me. Little bit of switching here. We end up with a Venusaur on the Donphan. We obviously don't want to get free killed, and we have to get out of the way, and he just flings another Leech Seed at us. But Donphan, as long as he gets in on something he's not threatened by, is going to be free to spin for the rest of the match now that we killed that Dusclops. So that's pretty crucial in this particular matchup. So Donphan comes in on a Protect turn, which is pretty ideal. So this is the part where as long as Jabba can correctly anticipate when spikes are going to come down, we could pull off our Mimic bullshit, though of course it is more important to get a rapid spin off, and Jabba knows that, so he prioritizes it here. He trades a Toxic for a spin, no problem. Again, we have Rest and Bell. There's Spikes, there's Mimic, and now Lax is in some trouble because we're going to get a lair down. There's nothing he can do to prevent it. He doesn't even phase us out. He goes for Drill Peck. So we're actually going to get more than one lair down if we want to go that way. And Jabba decides to do that, which is maybe a little bit greedy, but he should be able to survive and get a rest off here, pending a Drill Peck crit, which Lax doesn't even go for. He maybe didn't anticipate the rest and thought that we were going to die to poison. So from his end, if he thought we were just going to spin on the way out there and or spike on the way out there, why shouldn't he spike up? So I get why Lax did what he did. Probably was not thrilled when he saw the rest there, and now Heal Bell is going to completely get the Donphan good to go. Zapdos, I'm not sure why we stayed in with D-Knight here. But the T-Wave is going to work out pretty good, though, again, Lax has his own Heal Bell. We come in here to a Drill Peck. Raikou has a good opportunity to get an attack off or a CM, whatever he wants to do. Jabba's wrong on this one, going for T-Bolt. Hindsight 2020, but Hidden Power or CM would have been better. He bails out with the Donphan, though, rather than spinning. I'm surprised that he wasn't willing to eat a Hidden Power in exchange for spin there. Oh, wait! He's not going to have rapid spin. This is what we talked about beforehand. This is why the Mimic tech is so good. The spikes, even though he has a spinner, he's not going to be able to remove for the rest of the match. And you could see that it matters here because not all of his team, but like 4 out of his 6 are grounded. Focus Punch here is meh. There's not really a tech that we could have gone with. Hidden Power Flying or something, which is awful against the rest of the team. To really punish the Venusaur, so there's not a ton we can do, but like, I don't know, it's fine to punch him and then just switch out. Venusaur is more annoying than it is backbreaking, and the second we get a rapid spin off, he doesn't threaten us at all. The only reason this matters at all is because he forces switches with Leech Seed and because there's spikes down, but the moment we remove the spikes, this all just goes away. He doesn't have any offensive pressure other than the spikes. So if we just dance around it patiently, which Jabba is doing, eventually we should be able to do that. Regis comes into a crit, probably doesn't matter. Ice Beam there is, again, less damage than it would be because of Thick Fat. We're going to go for it again, and that's going to give him an opportunity to fish for a crit or a full para. He does, in fact, land the crit, and Lax has seen enough and concedes. A little bit testy in the comments, as you can see. Not thrilled about the way that played out. Obviously not going to deny that one turn there where we were fishing for either a crit or a full para was lucky that we got it, but I would also argue that we were in a pretty good position in this spot. I think that it's pretty inevitable that a rapid spin is going to get off at some point, and it's going to be hard for Lax to win. The spikes are going to be down for the rest of the game. He can't remove them. He's going to have a hard time actually killing anything, especially after we spin away the spikes. And we still have pretty healthy Raikou, reasonably healthy Cham. Didn't even reveal the last poke, which you guys obviously know what it is. Since we're never bringing Caterpie or Magikarp, you guys know that it is the Milotic, which didn't ever come into play in this match. Probably wouldn't have been great in this match. But yeah, we did catch a break on the last turn, no doubt. But I really, truly feel that Jabba would have won this game anyway. I felt like we were ahead, and the hacks were just kind of the tipping point. But I thought that Jabba was going to win this game either way. So that is going to start us off 1-0 in the battle pools. You have to go at least 2-1 in order to advance. Obviously, you want to go 3-0. That'll get you a bye when you get into the bracket stages, which is a big advantage. But you got to go at least 2-1 to make it into the bracket. So 1-0, good start. More work to be done. I will see you guys in the next video.